Welcome to Raytown Chop Shop. It's time to tear the KawaBunga apart and start getting it ready for paint.
In this episode, we'll disassemble the go-kart, do some final welding, and start sandblasting.
We made more room in the shop by moving things around. With the relocation of the Chrysler 413 engine, a large metal table, and Maggie's 78 Honda motorcycle, Austin and I have a lot more room to work on the KawaBunga. While it was parked in the middle of the shop, we began removing all the components and fabrications we've installed over the last 10 weeks. It only took a little over an hour to return the go-kart to just a bare frame. We only ran into one issue. I was hoping the homemade engine mounts could stay on the motorcycle for a while, but the mounts turned out to be wider than the top rail on the go-kart, so we unbolted them and pulled the motorcycle engine and frame.
With all the heavy stuff off, we lifted the go-kart onto a pair of sawhorses to disassemble the front and rear suspensions. We lucked out on the rear axle. We were able to leave the sprocket and brake rotor attached. This will save a lot of time and recalculating when it comes time to put it all back together. The front suspension parts were a breeze. The steering shaft needed a little persuasion from the dead blow hammer, and the last piece to come off was the handlebar adapter. With everything removed, now is the perfect time to go back and final weld all the additions we made to the frame. The foot pegs, accelerator cable brackets, seatbelt mounts, choke bracket, roll bar, and tailpipe bracket.
We wanted to close off the open tubes on the frame, so Austin used the metal from the old floorboard to fabricate a couple of caps and welded them on.
I cut out 4 more caps to close up the cross tube under the engine.
Austin welded them in place. Now, not only do the tubes look better, they'll also help to keep water out of the tubes so they won't rust.
Time to final weld everything underneath. We flipped the frame over on its side. I welded the foot pegs, the bottom of the cross tubes, the frame extensions, and the engine mounting plates.
Austin took a step back and double-checked to make sure all our metal additions were welded up solid. Time to take the frame outside and get to sandblasting. We propped it up on sawhorses so this old man wouldn't have to bend over so much. Thanks to Sutherland's, we picked up 3 bags of multi-purpose sand that was just the right size to go through my little sandblasting unit.
Dad put on a long sleeve shirt, mask, safety glasses, face shield, and a pair of leather gloves. and the stand still managed to beat him up pretty good.
After the first pass with the sandblaster, the original black paint on the go-kart was still just as tough as ever. Austin went around and sprayed aircraft stripper on the black paint to soften it up. We gave the stripper time to work and then hit it again with the sandblaster. I barely made a dent in the black paint.
We decided to call it a day and brought the frame back inside the shop. You might be able to see all the black paint that's still sticking to the back of the original frame. We've decided to buy a gallon of aircraft stripper and paint it on with a brush the next day. We're running out of ideas on how to remove the original paint. We stacked all the parts on a blanket against the wall to give us more room.
And here's the '78 Honda 750 we just finished for our friend Maggie. Hope she enjoys it. The next morning, while Austin slept in, I welded a couple of washers to the shift rod that will ride against the shift pedal and shift lever. This should help keep the rod from sliding in too far and possibly binding up. Austin was still asleep, so I took the opportunity to clean up the shift pedals and tie rods and get them ready for powder coat. They're hanging from wire under an oven rack. I'm going to use some extreme chrome powder coat from Eastwood Automotive. After baking in the oven for 30 minutes, the pedal and tie rods look great.
We decided to go ahead and mount the instrument panel from the Kawasaki. The only things that are going to work are the neutral light, oil light, temperature light, and gas gauge. The tachometer never worked, and the speedometer wasn't made to hook up to a go-kart. We decided to mount the instrument panel at the top of the roll bar. Once we decided on the location, we had to fabricate 3 brackets to hold it into place. We used some old flat bar for the job. We drilled a hole and bolted the brackets to the panel. Cut and bent the brackets, and I tacked them in place. We took the panel back off and I final welded all 3 brackets.
After giving the roll bar time to cool off after all the welding, we bolted on the panel. We had to make a few minor adjustments to the bracket angles to make it fit just right. With the brackets in place, we removed the panel and put it with the other parts.
Time to put the frame back outside on its sawhorses. It's day 2 of sandblasting. We started by wiping down the frame with rubbing alcohol.
And then applied the aircraft stripper gel to the painted portions of the frame. We're keeping our fingers crossed that this is finally going to remove all the old paint. We've got a feeling it's more than just regular old paint. It may have been powder coated.
We need to spend a little more time removing the go-kart's original paint. Then it's time for primer and new paint.
Thanks for watching.